Welcome, everyone. We're just going to give it a few seconds to let folks hop in. Thanks for being here. Hello, everyone. My name is Sahra Gahi, and I have the great pleasure of working at the Tahirih Justice Center. I'm excited to welcome so many folks from across the country who could join us today as we discuss the Afghan Asylum Project, its impact, and how you can get involved. This conversation is in partnership with our annual Big Hearted campaign, which helps us sustain our work and allows us to continue providing representation, direct relief, and support to immigrant survivors of gender-based violence. Before we start, I encourage folks to use the chat feature to ask any questions you may have that we can address during today's Q&A and at the end of the discussion. With that, I have the distinct pleasure of introducing my incredible colleague and Tahirih CEO Archi Pyati, alongside our wonderful longtime Tahirih supporter, social justice advocate, and talented singer-songwriter Aijia Grammer. Aijia, Archi, thank you so much for being here with us today and offering your time for an informative and critical conversation about the Afghan Asylum Project. Archi, I'll hand it over to you.
Sorry, I was muted. Thank you so much, Sahra, for kicking us off and getting us started, and all your help behind the scenes, making sure that this would happen. And thanks to everyone who's joining us today. We're so excited to have you. Aijia, welcome. Thank you for being here. I am such a fan of your work. You're an incredible actress, a singer, a songwriter. I have to say that this morning I again watched the video for the beautiful song For You, and it is amazing and moving, and I was in tears again. It's just incredible to see you. I'm so inspired by your work and so grateful to you for being here and for supporting the Tahirih Justice Center. Maybe I'll kick it off to you to break the ice and get us started.
Well, thank you. I feel like that's the best intro I've ever had. So thanks. Archie, I'm so honored to be here and be involved with the Tahirih Justice Center, which holds a dear, dear spot in my heart for many years. For those of you who are just joining us, the Tahirih Justice Center is an amazing organization which provides services and resources for immigrants who are fleeing gender-based violence, both in the United States and outside of the United States, who are on their way here. And what that kind of looks like is resources like counseling, temporary housing, legal services, support, food, the basics when someone arrives here or is here fleeing a situation that's not safe and needs immediate help. And that's the work that you guys are doing. And I'm so just in awe of everything that I've seen, and hearing the testimonies of the people that you've helped and how their whole worlds have been shifted. And I just am like, whatever I can do to be helpful and be here and support and use my voice, I'm down for it. So thank you for letting me be part of this.
Absolutely, we're so grateful to have you. So let's get started talking about why we're here. We are here today to talk a little bit about our Afghan Asylum Project. I, again, am Archie. I'm the new CEO at the Tahirih Justice Center. I'm not new to this organization. I've been here for now almost 8 years. I came to Tahirih after many years in direct service, serving immigrants and refugees, just like the women and men who are here now from Afghanistan, and children in the United States trying to seek refuge, and came to Tahirih in 2014 to do public policy advocacy, and in May became our new CEO. One of the projects we stood up in just the last few months was the Afghan Asylum Project. It's been really exciting and interesting. But we're here today to talk about a little bit more detail with our supporters who are joining us. Before we launch in though, Aijia, I wanted to ask you if you wanted to share with us a little bit about why you have come to the Tahirih Justice Center, why you keep coming back, and why you love being a part of our work.
Well, I think that, you know, everyone here, except for people who are Native, we're all come from immigrants. We all stem from immigrants. And at least in my family, I am second generation. So my dad was the first generation here. And we were fortunate enough to not be fleeing really intense violence, but seeing a lot of what the women and men who have come through this organization have been through, these unimaginable circumstances, it's just so powerful that they're here and they're fighting to try to establish a place for their families to live and just exist and just be. And especially with the Afghan Asylum Project, you know, we have this, I'm sure if you've listened to the news at all, we have this crisis happening and there is literally nowhere for these people to go. And so a lot of them just arrive, they're fleeing with just the clothes on their backs and their children. And I mean, imagine you have no resources, you don't speak the language, you don't know how to apply for asylum or visas, you don't have diapers. I mean, it's just an unimaginable situation. And so there has to be someone or an organization that's a point person for where to get started, because it's not just somebody handing you a diaper that's going to fix the problem. It's like so multi-layered and so multifaceted, which is why I feel like the Tahirih Justice Center is so important, because you really are helping these people get set up on so many levels. Just figuring out what the long-term plan is, what the short-term plan is in terms of trauma-informed care, and you know, these people have just been through so much. So especially for this Afghan Asylum Project, I'm just so pumped to try to see if we can get more people involved, figure out, you know, the best way to help. I know people are always like, what can I do? What can I do? The truth is like money is the thing, because money buys someone a lawyer, money buys someone temporary housing, money buys diapers, money buys food. And so in the immediate, we really do just need to find resources for these people, and that is just going to be through donation. So I'm just here to try to be helpful, and I wanted to tell you or talk with you a little bit about the helpline that you guys set up, which I know has been really helpful, the Afghan Asylum Project helpline. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
It's a great question. You know, what you were saying about how folks have come here from Afghanistan is so true, and, you know, with very little with them. In fact, back in the summer, in the late summer, when we first heard that, you know, there was a big change in Afghanistan, the Taliban was taking over, we anticipated that there would be some refugees who would come to the United States, but our assumption was the majority would come with already having been granted legal refugee status by the US government. Many people do get that each year. In fact, the Biden administration recently has, you know, stated what its cap will be in future fiscal years and how people will be able to get processed and come in. If they come with legal refugee status, then individuals automatically are given resettlement assistance, which comes with housing, access to healthcare, you know, food assistance, employment assistance, so many ways in which they can get community help and support to get integrated into our towns and where we live, so that they can also begin to form their life, you know, put their roots down and really start establishing their lives here. That's what we're trying to do when we're helping a refugee come to the United States. What's interesting is that in this situation, because of the emergency situation individuals found themselves in, the US government took actually what turned out to be more than 70,000 people on airplanes and brought them to the United States, put them often in military bases. Many of them are on military bases because there was nowhere else for them to go with so many people and so quickly. There was no way to resettle them all in our communities. And so they came into the United States with no actual legal refugee status. Now, what that meant is all those safety net protections you were describing, you know, even diapers, things that folks need, were not being provided, were not provided for in the short or long term in that for this population. The individuals who came in fact, many did not know what legal status they had, whether they would be allowed to leave the bases, where they would be allowed to go, how they would find housing, establish themselves, get their children in school, anything. And so that was when, when we realized at the Tahirih Justice Center that, okay, this is not a typical refugee migration situation. This is a very large number of people who are here. We figured a lot of those individuals are going to be women and girls and others who might be trying to make claims or have claims, have fear based on the fact that they could be persecuted because of their gender. We decided we needed to help. Our teams already are at capacity. They are working very hard to manage an incredibly marginalized group of survivors of gender-based violence who are undocumented and confronting the pandemic these last few years. They've lost their jobs, they've been hungry, they've not been able to access housing, they've been evicted. Our staff is supporting those clients. So we were like, we can't take on any more people. But when I reached out to staff and said, guys, this thing is happening, what are we gonna do? There was an outpouring of support from staff. We have to find a way. So we very quickly set up the helpline kind of overnight, established an 800 number, spread that out, and immediately started getting calls from the bases. And so that's what the Afghan helpline is here to do.
Wow, that is incredible. And what is that helpline? How can we share that?
Oh yeah, there's a phone
Will it be
number.
on here?
Yeah, we can get the phone number to you. What's really great about the phone number is that we've been getting calls from all over the country. It's not only in our, we have 5 offices around the country where we provide, hands-on free legal immigration services and represent individuals from soup to nuts in their cases. We pair that legal service with social services so that our clients are holistically supported as they make their claims. In this situation, we've shifted the model a little bit. Instead of saying we're only going to help folks who are in our actual locations, this helpline helps individuals from anywhere. So it's an 800 number you can call if you are in, on a base in Wisconsin or in Arizona or here in Virginia. You can call this number and immediately talk to somebody, or we'll call you back if we aren't available in that moment, and make sure that you have information about your rights, about what you can apply for, when you should apply, and how to make that work for you. So our goal is to make sure that Afghan refugees have the information they need to advocate for themselves, and so we can help advocate for them.
It's incredible. I see you guys posted that line. It's 888-991-0852. Can you tell me a little bit more about what the legal services look like that you guys provide when people do call in, or when they're at the point of asking for aid?
Absolutely. So with the Afghan helpline in particular, when people are calling right now, we're offering, a range of sort of basic information. So we're asking questions like, do you have humanitarian parole? If somebody doesn't know if they have it, we're trying to help them figure that out. If they know they have humanitarian parole, which is this very odd and very rare construction. It's very rare for somebody to get humanitarian parole typically, but right now it's being given to this, 70,000 plus individuals so that they have a very temporary way to be in the US. But that will expire, and it will not, we don't know if it will be renewed. And so we're helping individuals think about what a longer term solution would be, like applying for asylum, being able to then get a work authorization, bring their family members here, get a green card, and eventually become a citizen. So our goal is really to help individuals know what they can do and access that information and access their rights. For us, if a person calls and does not fit a place where we could take them on for representation, for example, is in another part of the country other than our 5 offices, or doesn't have a case that fits inside our mission, right? Our mission is serving individuals who are survivors of gender-based violence. So if we are talking to somebody on the phone who doesn't fit that description, then we're probably going to be looking at making a referral to them to an organization around the country that could help them. And we will make a warm handoff for that person, make sure they have the information, phone numbers, sometimes even do some emailing with those local service providers and make sure that folks are getting what they need locally. If a person is inside our mission and is somebody who needs representation and we can take that case, we will take that case, which means doing an intake, creating initial materials that describe the case. And then there's an asylum application, which is long, and a lot of more legal work that we have to do. It can be hundreds of hours per case. So we've also been getting calls. Yeah, it's intense. We've been getting calls from law firms who want to help us, and we're eager to engage with them and co-counsel with them in our model, which is established around the country. But what that means for us is when we co-counsel, our staff have to be available to provide samples, to help those attorneys walk through the case, to know what kinds of questions to ask, and in a trauma-informed way to a person who just got here from another country. So to provide that, we need to be staffed up. So that's a kind of overview of what we're doing.
And translators, I would imagine, a lot of translators, because each one of those cases is going to need its own individual person, making sure that everyone understands what the process is.
That's right. That's right. And there are a number of translators actually among the refugees. So a lot of people actually who were translating for the American military overseas are now, have targets on their backs. And so they're here in the United States too. And so we actually really quickly hired somebody like that as a contractor who reached out to us and said, I'm here and I'm available and I'm a refugee too, but I can help. And so we've contracted with that individual, and that person is helping us with some of these intakes. So we're trying to, with the donor money we're receiving, we're trying to use it to not only hire contract attorneys, but also be able to contract with folks who are recently arriving to make sure that we can, give them some money to be able to support themselves here.
Yeah, it's incredible. And really so cool too, because I know that a lot of people feel really moved to help with the situation in Afghanistan and all the refugees that are fleeing right now. And it's a really direct way to be like, I want to help with this specific group of people, this population that I feel connected to, and help these people get integrated into our culture and our world here.
That's right. Wow. I mean, it's really meaningful. What we have, what's been exciting for me also in reviewing the case notes and talking to a few people also who are Afghans who are on the bases and waiting for help, has been hearing how gratifying, how grateful they are to get a call back from us, to reach a warm body, to be able to talk to somebody live on the phone. A lot of organizations are trying to help, and we have a lot of peers out there who are doing the same thing we're doing, but I know that everybody is strapped. And so for us to be able to receive calls and be able to respond as quickly as we can, I think it's making a real difference for folks who feel quite stranded on these bases without a lot of information. So we're really eager to keep doing that. We also have a few hundred actually now referrals from the State Department asking us to assist them also, because they had been working with scholars and activists and academics from Afghanistan who were here in the United States and working with the State Department, again putting a target on their back now that the Taliban is back in control. And so they've transported folks into the United States as well and asked us to provide support. So we're doing whatever we can, but again, we're at capacity and we're trying our best in nights and weekends sometimes to make these calls back and make sure nobody who's here goes without a conversation and some help and some information, hopefully representation, to get them across into where they and their families feel truly safe.
Incredible. Incredible. Well, do you want to transfer a little bit to the Q&A from the audience?
Absolutely. I'm happy to do that. I think that's a great idea. And maybe you'll have some answers for them too, Aijia, in your role as an ambassador and an activist and a passionate supporter.
Okay, I'll take this first question one. How does Tahirih determine when to take action when there are increased moments of need like this?
That's a really good question. We have a very strategic process that we go through. We think about what is the need and how acute is the need. We also think about whether we can make a difference, whether our skills and expertise are particularly relevant. Then we look at the landscape and how many other organizations are already throwing resources into this or participating. We don't want to just replicate and duplicate. We want to actually be able to, be useful and be helpful. And then finally, we look at whether we have a unique voice. So in this situation, because so many of the refugees coming here are actually women and girls who are specifically fleeing gender-based violence and will be making claims for asylum based on persecution they fear because of their gender. That's an area of expertise that's very special for us. There are very few other organizations in the country that really focus on asylum for people who are fleeing gender-based violence. Certainly, we're the largest national organization with offices all over the country, California, Texas, Georgia, Virginia, Baltimore, where we can see also how different cases will do in different jurisdictions. And with the law of asylum, as it pertains to gender, it's different in all jurisdictions. So for us to be able to say, like, look, we know the law really well, and we are direct services experts in this area. We also understand trauma and how gender trauma manifests. It felt like we had no choice but to take action.
Mm. And it's so, just to echo what you're saying, it's so specific to what you guys already have laid out. It feels like everything that I've seen in the past of the work you do is really so specifically already catered to this type of situation, which I'm sure, won't be the last, because these types of situations pop up all over the world, unfortunately.
I know, that's a sad thing.
So what are some ways that you can recommend to people to get involved to help this effort? Exactly can people do?
Yeah, I'm going to push that one right back to you, Aijia, because I know you're already involved and you're demonstrating it today, but I'd love to hear a little bit from you about what you think people who are not lawyers necessarily, people who are not, able to go to the military bases and help. What can those people do to be supportive?
Well, I think that there is the obvious, which is a financial donation, and that doesn't have to be some grandiose amount. A lot of people are on fixed income. We're in COVID times. There's a lot of weirdness happening, but I think sometimes contributing something feels better than nothing. And even if that's like, I can set aside this amount per month and I'm going to make it an ongoing contribution, then you get emails, you get updates, you get to see how your funding is going directly, and you get updates from Tahirih Justice Center, which I get. And it's really cool to just see how it is progressing and what is occurring due to these donations. And then also, I think just using your voice, there are people on social media who have millions and billions of followers, and you don't have to have that in order to make a difference. Telling your friends, telling the people in your circle, telling your family about, oh, there's this cool organization that I just got involved with. Have you been hearing what's happening in the news with what's going on in Afghanistan and the people fleeing? And just creating those conversations. And then those people, just last night I was telling my mom about, oh yeah, I'm doing this thing tomorrow. And she said, yeah, I keep hearing about it on the news and I want to help, but I don't know. And sometimes just providing those people a vehicle to get involved. Oh, post it on your Facebook. Tell your friends that you're starting a campaign through Christmas where you, like the Big Hearted campaign that you guys have. I'm going to try to raise $2,000 or whatever, $1,000 by the end of the year. And I'm going to reach out to everyone and I'm going to say, in lieu of a gift for me, or on Thanksgiving, if you would be so kind, I'm trying to fundraise for this Afghan Asylum project. And you create a goal and you try to hit that goal, and you remind people that, everybody's buying gifts right now and getting into that mode. And it's just really important to remind people that there are ways that they can help that are life altering, actually life altering. And you can make your own campaign. Like, it doesn't need to be that you walk a 5K, although that's great, but you can come up with your own thing, like a bake sale or whatever your thing is, you know. You crochet something and you want to sell it on Etsy and put the proceeds, like whatever your thing is. It's really just, it's up to you to figure out how you can serve best, but you can speak to your own personal strengths. I personally have a big mouth, so I'm helpful there.
You are really helpful, not because you have a big mouth, but because your energy is contagious. It's been amazing to hear you talk about Tahirih's work as an expert, and also to use the platform you have because of your, you know, celebrity, your talent to share the work that we're doing with people who follow you. That's a big deal. That's really helpful to us. And I know our attendees include people who work at law firms, people who are doctors, people who are you know, already supporters of Tahirih, and maybe some people who are new to the organization. And so, you know, for everyone to remember, there is a role you can play. This situation right now is tough for, I've had some people ask, like, can I lay hands on? Who can I meet and how can I help? And can I come to your office? And, you know, that is harder in this moment because a lot of the refugees are still on the camps and access to those camps is pretty restricted. The camps are closing, they're kind of rolling now, closing over the next several months. So we are expecting that in the early part of 2022, individuals will be coming more into our communities and will be resettling, moving into apartments. You know, I'm in a community group in my town where we, you know, we are already preparing for that and beginning to think about ways to gather food and clothes and utensils and pots and pans and things to help families that are resettling. There will be more community activism type things folks can do in the next several months. And then for lawyers at law firms and doctors who want to give their time or want to get active with those workplace communities, we will also need your help as we begin to actually bring those cases in-house and start representing. We're waiting to see where some folks are going to be resettled, because if somebody on a camp in Wisconsin is going to California, we don't want to advise them about the law in Wisconsin. We want to really represent them in California and help them with the law there. But in the next several months, we'll be needing help from law firms and doctors and other professionals who can help. So, you know, if you're listening and you're out there and you want to contribute, we're excited to and grateful for your financial support. If you have other ideas of ways that you want to be involved, feel free to reach out to us, and we are eager to welcome that help as well.
And how do these legal representatives, lawyers and such, do they need to be in the vicinity of the people that they're servicing, or can they do it remotely? How does that work?
No, it's a good question. So for the initial conversations and even some of the screening questions, we are doing that remotely. And so if somebody is, you know, located, if a staff member at Tahirih is located in our Bay Area office, she might be having a phone call with a woman on a base in Wisconsin and asking questions about, you know, how did that woman get here and what happened in Afghanistan and what is she afraid of? And that could easily be happening. When we represent somebody in full representation, we do prefer to be in the same location. It helps us be able to, you know, from a trauma-informed perspective, to look at somebody face to face and be in the same room as much as possible to be able to, you know, really feel and understand. For survivors to talk about what they've experienced, what they've been through, it can be difficult to do that if they're not in person with somebody.
Right,
So
understand
that's a big part of the issue, yeah.
Well, I feel like I even learned more here today. So thanks for involving me and for sharing all that information for all the viewers and everybody that will get this link, who saw it in real time and who will see it later, because I feel like this is just such an important campaign and there's such a need. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Aijia, for being with us. I really appreciate it. And thank you to everyone else.
Aijia, Archie, thank you again so much for sharing your time with us today and offering such engaging discourse and questions and answers on the current reality for Afghan asylum seekers in the States. As a reminder, please check out the link in the chat where you can learn more about this work and how you can meaningfully contribute to its advancement. To our audience, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate everyone on the call and hope you're finding joy and community even in these turbulent times. We're wishing you all a beautiful day. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.
Thanks, Archie. Bye.